So I made it back home, everyone. I know everyone was worried about that, I'm sure. So today, two things. Firstly, you'll probably notice that I changed the name of the channel from Badass Bodypaint back to Toxic Image Studios. I just think that it more accurately reflects the type of content that I've been putting out. I will still be doing some body paint stuff, and I'll brand those particular things as Badass Body Paint, much what I'm doing now with this video, but you'll see that going forward it's going to be mostly under Toxic Image Studios. I'm just wanting to do not just makeup and body paint and molds, but some other art and some other interesting things which, you know, better suits Toxic Image Studios. So today's video is something that I've been thinking about doing for a while. So I'm starting a new series which are going to be these body paint reviews. I'll also do it for sculpts, I guess, if people are interested. A while ago, I guess a few months ago now, I put out an ad on Facebook for anybody who would be willing to have their body paint reviewed for my YouTube channel. Staggeringly empty inbox for that. I guess people are a little bit nervous, a little bit shy, don't really want somebody who is going to sit there and seemingly pick apart their work. I did get contacted by a mate of mine named Bea, and Bea is a very talented artist. I've worked with Bea before. I've known her for, I guess, about 5 years now, and she was like, I'll do it. So big props to you, Bea. I know it takes guts to put your work out like that and then have somebody sit there and give their review on it. So typically what I'm going to do with these is I will go over it. I'll explain all of the things that I really like, some things that maybe are technically incorrect, or some placements that are maybe inaccurate. I'll talk about some personal preferences, things that I personally didn't care for. Doesn't always mean that it's going to be, you know, my opinion is my opinion. It'll be what it is. People will either be like, oh yeah, I see what he's saying, or it's like, I think I liked it better before. No problem either way. This is just personally my personal review on this particular piece. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So here is Bea's piece that she has submitted for review. Overall, I think she's done a great job. This is a fairly strong design. I'm very, very partial myself to designs that have a lot of leather work. I do a lot of leather work in my own pieces, and I actually did a piece that's somewhat reminiscent of this design, which has the straps across the front. It has the sort of cascading pauldrons from the shoulder down. So it's got some similarities to this. So it's been interesting sort of looking at this and then going back and looking at what I did, because I don't always necessarily think about it. I just sort of do it. So this one here, first I'm going to look at the things that I like. So firstly, the face. I have no problem with the face whatsoever. I think it looks fine, and I like the choice of... Are they lenses, or did you Photoshop those eyes, Bea? They look Photoshopped. So obviously they've been done in post, which is perfectly legitimate, but I like the choices that you made there. I do like the overall design of this. I think it's nice. It's fairly well balanced. It's got the even sort of distribution of design, which I like. I like the choice of the somewhat shiny, sort of a dull sheen, what looks like black leather pants, not high gloss, which I quite like. I like the skull here. This skull is great. big fan of that skull. I like the fact that you didn't put the little line around the teeth. I think it looks very dimensional and very cool. I like the sort of the way you've broken the sort of corset down. I like the seams here. I'm a little bit confused as to what these particular are. Are they meant to be stitches? Are they meant to be creases in the leather? A little hard to tell, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I like the design here, although these are not very symmetrical, but I like that you've got the extra sort of overlapping leather on here, and yeah, all in all, I think it's a very strong piece. So I am known for being very, very picky in my reviews, very detail oriented. So this is by no means me saying that this piece is rubbish or that it's not good. So this is just going to be a very honest review as to the things that I have liked, which I've outlined, some things that I think need attention. For example, it looks like you ran out of time here on this particular forearm guard on this bracer here. Looks like this one's got at least twice as much shading on it. It's got a highlight on the top here. It's missing here, so it just looks unfinished. So that for me was the first thing I noticed, and I was like, oh, I wonder what happened there, because all the rest of it has a lot of shading, and then this one's just kind of lacking. The next thing, the thing that I think I dislike the most about it is the choice of this stencil running over the whole thing, these little crisscrossy stencils. I don't really understand what they are or why they're there. Leather typically does not have that kind of thing, and it's kind of got some sort of overlapping sort of darks and then some lights, and I guess I'm just confused because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was like, oh, it looked too empty, so I just threw some texture in, or if it was meant to actually replicate something. But it doesn't, to me, doesn't look like anything that I can recognize. That's just me. And it's sort of got just like a little pop of it here, a little pop of it there. It's not sort of constant through it, so I don't really understand that. The next thing is that I personally don't love are these really heavy outlines, and the choice to do these hard line highlights in here. I think that it detracts. It detracts from the realism of the leather. It ends up having a very face painty look, and I think it would have been a better choice to maybe do some subtle highlights with an airbrush. I'll get into that in a minute when we go through. These wrinkles here, I think, need to come through more. So if you have tight pants, and although they've got a lot of dimension and they look great, normally the tension point is here, and you get some, if you look at someone wearing jeans, they'll always have some creases across here, and then it'll come down into here, because this is the sort of pinch point where all of the tension is usually resides in clothing. And then these usually interact a little bit more with, it's like this is very, very tight here, but then there's a lot of wrinkles here, which if it was that tight, I don't know that it would have so many wrinkles. So I think we need to maybe bring these through a little bit just to maybe make it a little bit more sense, make a little bit more sense as to those wrinkles there. But apart from that, and these things here, these straps have no back on them. Like, they don't go anywhere. There's no seam sort of coming down here. There's no end to these straps. They just kind of pop out of nowhere, which I think we either need a seam here or at least a shadow to sort of hide that there isn't that there. The studs, I like that you've got the little shadow here, but you've got some where that's black and some that are just a pop of white, and others that, you know, have different techniques. So it's just a little incongruous as far as an overall unity to the way that they look. I would also like to see a little bit more of a sort of metallic finish on these buckles. So I took the time to. The reason that I'm doing this in what is this, Procreate, is because I took some time to just go through and make a few adjustments to illustrate the things that I've been talking about. So the first is just to get rid of the outlines. So you can see there, I've basically gone in and I've got rid of all of those hard black outlines that are around everything. You know, it's not perfect. I didn't do a perfect job. I did it on the quick. But you can see that with some skin shadowing and a little subtle highlight, rather than using white, I used a light brown just to bring an edge on here and create some dimension. And it's all done using browns. I didn't really use any whites or blacks for any of that. That will also really bring out the lack of symmetry in this bra treatment, but I think that looks more dimensional for sure, has a little bit more to it. Next is what I call cylinder painting. So I've gone in, what was that? Okay, so basically what I do a lot of this in my pieces. So if you go back to the previous one that I did, you can see that I've done the cylinder shading on the legs, I've done it through the torso, I've done it on the arms, I've done it on pretty much everything that I do has this shading that sort of goes up and down the torso and arms, and it's just a basic shadow and a highlight, and I've used a little bit of a subtler highlight, and then I've popped it with some white to really bring out the shine. So there's two different types of highlights. You've got highlights which denote the proximity to the viewer, so you'll have a highlight to make it look like something is raised or overlapping, and then you have highlights which are from a light source like a shine, which are typically white. The rest of the ones are not. So and as I was doing this, you'll see here that I brought this cylinder shading up and through this bit here, but then this one obviously I did on a different layer. I was kind of working fast and my layers got a little bit messed up. So you can see I did some cylinder shading through here, and it looks also like I've got some extra stuff on different layers there. So that's basically what that is. And you can see that by bringing this highlight here sort of out a little bit, it makes it look like it comes out of here, and then it's popping a highlight along here. And I extended these a little bit so that they're coming out of the highlight here and across, so that it looks more like it's actually a wrinkle in the leather. And these here that used to have these little where is it? Used to have these little weird little things here. I didn't really know what they were. I didn't know if they were meant to be wrinkles in the leather. This didn't really have a separation here to make it say, well, this is behind and coming out from underneath. So I just made a stylistic choice and popped in a bit more of a shadow here, and then I put the highlights in, and then I ran a pop of white right through the middle of that, so that it just sort of hits through there and follows through that line there, and this line follows up through here, and then we have one coming down through the middle. Same as the hands here. I basically just darkened in and dropped it down, and then had a highlight here sort of coming up just to break those up and give some visual interest and balance to it. Then there was the studs. Now these I did with a just a ball of grey, and then I put a little light reflection here. Typically when I do studs, I'll just have a little circle, like a punch from a hole punch, and I'll just pop from the top corner of the circle. I'll just hit it with a white, and then let the off spray form the more shadowed portion of this. So it would be the highlight here, and then it sort of fades off and creates a shadow. And so it creates this sort of really easy technique for doing stud work. I'll throw up some examples of that for you guys so you can see some different examples of that. So that's a very, very easy way to do that. So let's break down what I did here. Now these here, I popped a shadow in through here, and what that has done, and you can see here that I've basically just done these with an airbrush. Now this is not nearly as neat. I am not a master of Procreate. I have not mastered the airbrush with the Apple Pencil. This is just purely for illustration purposes. But you can see that I didn't put my holes back in. Bad me. So these probably should have the holes put back in. And if you look here in the background, you'll see that the highlight's here. The highlight actually should be on the bottom because the light would be hitting the inside lip of that hole. So those are actually upside down. The highlights are actually in the wrong spot. So you can see through here, I popped a vertical highlight here because this actually has a bar. These buckles have a bar that goes through the middle of it, and then the leather comes up and over that bar and then back out again. So by popping that little highlight there, you can see that it looks like it's sort of creating that effect there. I also popped some highlights through here. Just, a little white pop to make them look a little bit more shiny and a little bit more metallic. I brought some highlight down through here that in a very, very messy fashion, but I think it gives the idea. Here you can see that I ran a shadow through here and then ran a highlight on the bottom here, so it looks like the belt or these buckles are the leather's actually curling back up and catching a little bit of light on the bottom, and that gives a little bit more dimension so it doesn't look so two-dimensional and cartoony. And oops, looks like I got rid. There we go. That's looking better. So it's not looking quite so cartoony now. It's looking like it has a little bit more dimension to it. I did absolutely nothing to the skull. I think that skull is great. Down here, I brought some of these in through here and just popped a slight more highlight through the thigh coming down. Popped a little bit across here, so you can see that it's a little bit more white through the middle of the highlight, so that those wrinkles actually also feed into that same highlight. And you can see that I actually put a line across here because that's where the garment would finish. So that is my review of these, and yeah, awesome work, Bea. Thank you for letting me review your piece. I look forward to seeing more of your pieces. If any of you watching this would like to submit any body paints to have the treatment given to them, you can email them to me at josh@toxicimage.com, and I'm always more than happy to do more of these reviews for people. I find it quite challenging and fun, and I hope that you will tune in the future. If you like this, please remember to like, and if you enjoy it and you like our content, please share this. It helps us get traction on YouTube, the algorithm. I don't post enough to really get a lot of traction, so if you're able to help with that, that would be fantastic. So like, subscribe, and that would be great. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.